The Galactic Council stood on the edge of collapse. Their fleets, once a symbol of unity, now lay in ruins. The Enikar Dominion swept through the stars like an unstoppable tide, burning worlds and enslaving entire civilizations. The Council had no weapons strong enough, no warriors fierce enough, no strategies clever enough to hold the line. They had only one hope: humanity. It had been over a century since humans turned their backs on the Council. At first, they had been eager allies, lending their strength, their technology, their relentless spirit. Humanity fought on the front lines, sacrificed their own for causes not their own, bled for species that barely acknowledged them. But when the wars ended, so did the gratitude. The Council dismissed them, treated them as an inferior race once peace was restored. Humanity had learned its lesson. One by one, human systems withdrew. Trade ceased. Diplomatic channels went silent. When the Council called, there was no answer. The void between humanity and the rest of the galaxy deepened, and soon, they became little more than a distant memory. But now, the Council had no choice but to remember. Their last fleets gathered in a desperate bid for survival, but it would not be enough. The Enikar advanced, unstoppable. World after world fell. The Council sent their finest diplomats to the only power that might change the tide. A small envoy ship approached the edge of human space. The silence was deafening. There were no patrols, no visible defenses, just the cold abyss of the void. And then, without warning, a response. A message, precise and emotionless. Coordinates provided. No threats, no warnings, no welcomes. The delegation followed the path laid out for them, arriving at the human outpost on Titan Station. A station unlike anything they had ever seen. It was not grand or ceremonial. It was efficient, silent, and filled with a quiet power that sent a shiver down their spines. They had expected bureaucracy, councils, a chain of command. Instead, they were met by a single human representative. Not a leader, not a military general, just a voice of humanity. The lead diplomat stepped forward, clearing their throat, rehearsing the carefully prepared speech meant to appeal to the famed human sense of duty and morality. The words came quickly, laying bare the dire state of the galaxy, the suffering, the destruction, the need for unity. And then, they waited. The humans sat in silence for a long moment, eyes cold, expression unreadable. Then came the response, calm, deliberate, and final. No. The word hung in the air, heavy as a death sentence. The delegation stammered, pleaded, argued, but it changed nothing. Humanity had made its decision long ago. And nothing had changed. The delegation refused to accept the answer. They pressed forward, voices strained with desperation. They spoke of history, of alliances once forged, of debts owed to the galaxy itself. They appealed to morality, to the countless innocent lives that would be lost if humanity remained silent. They spoke of redemption, of a chance to right past wrongs. The human representative listened, expression unchanged. When the aliens finally fell silent, exhausted from their pleading, the human leaned forward slightly and spoke. You misunderstand. A pause. You assume we care. The words struck harder than any weapon. The delegation struggled to comprehend the sheer indifference in the human's tone. They had expected resistance, perhaps conditions or negotiations. But this was something far worse. Humanity wasn't hesitating. They weren't debating. They simply did not care. The lead diplomat tried again, this time shifting tactics. They spoke not of the past but of the future. They warned of the consequences should the Enikar win. The Dominion would not stop with the Council. Eventually, they would turn their gaze to human space. The humans' response was almost amused. They wouldn't dare. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't bravado. It was a simple statement of fact. For the first time, the aliens began to understand. Humanity hadn't been sitting idly in isolation. They had been building, advancing, preparing. And now, they were something else entirely, something the rest of the galaxy had failed to notice until it was too late. The diplomat made one final plea. Not for the Council, not for politics, but for the innocent. The families. The children. Surely humanity could not be so heartless as to watch an entire galaxy burn. The human leaned back, considering the words. A flicker of something unreadable crossed their expression. Then, with a voice as steady as before, they answered. We remember our children, too. The ones who died for a galaxy that tossed them aside. A signal pulsed through the station's systems. The meeting was over. The delegation was escorted back to their ship without another word. As they departed human space, no ships followed. No warnings were given. The humans simply returned to whatever they had been doing before, unbothered, unshaken, and utterly uninterested in the fate of those who had once begged for their help. For the first time, the delegation felt true fear. Not of the Enikar. Not of war. But of humanity. The war ended faster than anyone predicted. The Council's fleets shattered. Their defenses crumbled. The Enikar Dominion swept through the core worlds without resistance. Planets that had stood for millennia were reduced to smoldering ruins. Governments collapsed. Entire species vanished. The galaxy fell into silence, broken only by the sound of conquest. And humanity watched. From the edges of known space, their ships remained motionless, observing. Their advanced networks intercepted every desperate distress signal, every plea for aid. Not once did they respond. Not once did they intervene. Rumors spread among the survivors. Some believed humanity would step in at the last moment, as they had done before. That they could not stand idly by while the galaxy burned. Others, the ones who had met the humans face to face, knew better. The final battle took place above the last remaining Council stronghold, the capital world of Cerinthia. The remnants of the once mighty alliance gathered for a last stand. They fought not to win, but to survive, to buy time for evacuations, for hope, for anything. The Enikar offered no mercy. The planet burned. Somewhere in the darkness, unseen by either side, humanity listened. Their long-range scanners captured every explosion, every scream, every death. Their ships, more advanced than anything the Council had ever dreamed of, hovered silently just beyond detection. They could have ended the war in a single strike. But they did nothing. As the Council's last warships were annihilated, the Enikar sent a final transmission, one not meant for their fallen enemies, but for humanity itself. We know you are watching. Humanity did not answer. The Enikar hesitated. Even in victory, they dared not move against the silent power lurking in the void. They had conquered the galaxy, but there was one force they would not challenge. Not yet. The war was over. The Council was no more. And humanity had never even lifted a finger. The galaxy lay in ruin. Once thriving worlds were now graveyards. The few survivors of the Council scattered to the fringes, living as refugees in the very stars they once ruled. The Enikar Dominion stood unchallenged, their conquest complete. Except for one thing. They never crossed into human space. Not once. Their war fleets patrolled the borders, but they never advanced. Their scouts never returned. The Dominion, ruthless and unrelenting against all others, treated humanity's territory like a black hole, something vast, unknowable, and better left undisturbed. The survivors whispered theories. Some believed the Enikar feared humanity's technology. Others thought they had seen something in the shadows, something that had made even the conquerors hesitate. But the truth was simpler. The Enikar understood power. And they knew, beyond any doubt, that humanity held it in overwhelming, unimaginable measure. For a time, the galaxy held its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Would humanity rise to take the Council's place? Would they punish the Dominion for their destruction? Would they expand, claim, rule? But humanity did nothing. They did not reach out to the survivors. They did not send diplomats, fleets, or warnings. Their ships remained on the edge of known space, silent as ever. Then, one day, a single transmission echoed across the ruined galaxy. It did not come from Earth or any known human colony. No one knew who sent it. You wanted to stand without us. Now, you understand. The stars belong to those strong enough to hold them. The message repeated once, then vanished. And with it, the last hope of the old galaxy faded into silence.